I still remember when I was in, well, I wasn't in the grade. I lived in Congo at the time. I was probably like 5, 6 years old maybe. And in the house I lived in at this time, there was a lot. There was a lot of. I lived with a lot of my cousins and like their parents. We lived in like it was a pretty big house, but there was a lot of people in it. And I just remember one day we were all just hanging out as usual in the house, just playing around, little kids playing around, and we just started hearing gunshots, and it wasn't like a pistol gunshot. It was like a automatic weapon gunshot. I was little, so I didn't really know, but I heard about wars and battles going on between the government and the rebels. So we heard those gunshots, and I didn't even know what to think. I wasn't even scared or anything because I was so young. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know what was going on. But all the parents came outside and grabbed all the kids and said, come in the house. So we locked all the doors, put down all the blinds and everything, and we just kept hearing. I didn't know what was going on at the time, and I really didn't think much of it. So they were out there. We heard the gun sounds for like pretty much the whole day, and then into the night. And then the next morning, everybody went outside to go see what happened. But I just remember that all the parents were talking about how there was just like a battle out there and how like all this happened. And being a little kid, I'm thinking, oh, that's cool. They're outside fighting. But as I got older and started to realize and started to understand things more, I started understanding like, man, that was crazy. Like how many kids 5 years old in the U.S. can say that they were like at the front line of a war pretty much, where people were just killing each other, Like it wouldn't have taken very much for one of those soldiers to come out the woods and come raid our house, and because it was right there. And I was a little kid, so I didn't think much of it, but when I grew up, I was like, man, like, that's insane. Like, if that was something that happened right now, I'd be terrified. I'd be completely terrified. My name's Keba Agostinho. I play football here at the University of Kansas, but that's only a small part of my story. My story begins in 1992 in LUANDA, Angola. That's where I was born. I was the first born of my parents, first of four. It was around summertime in Angola. I had just finished third grade, but when I came here, it was wintertime, and I started fourth grade immediately when I came here. And I went to school, my elementary school, Memorial Parkway Elementary. I didn't speak any English at all. And me and my younger brother, we both went to school together, and we couldn't speak English. We didn't know anybody was saying what was going on. Actually, when I first moved to the U.S., I could speak Portuguese and French. Portuguese, French, and Lingala, and that's all I could speak. I didn't know any words in English, really. I couldn't speak any English. So my teacher, because in Texas, a lot of jobs require you to be a Spanish speaker. So my teacher was a Spanish speaker. So the way we communicated was she would talk to me in Spanish, and I would listen to some of the words, because Spanish and Portuguese are a lot of the words are the same, just pronounced different. So that's how we communicated. She would talk to me in Spanish, and I would understand some of the stuff in Portuguese, and I was able to reply to her. It's actually crazy because when I was in Africa, you know, the only two sports we really played, we knew was basketball and soccer. I grew up playing just basketball and soccer, and then when I came to the U.S., you know, I started eating chips and all this other McDonald's unhealthy stuff that I wasn't eating before, so I gained a little bit of weight. But coming from my soccer background, you know, I've always been a kid that was like pretty athletic and able to move regardless of my size. And I just remember my mom used to make fun of me all the time because she wanted me to lose weight by the time I got to like 6th grade because I was overweight. By the time I got to like 6th grade, you know, she wanted me to play, but you can't play for the school until 7th grade. So I waited a year, and really the only reason why I played football was she told me I could play whatever sport I want. But I didn't even know what football was, to be honest. I just saw it on TV. I see people like with pads on hitting each other. And I just knew that, you know, from a lot of TV shows I watched, it was usually the big dudes who played football. So I was like, okay, you know, I'm a pretty big dude, so I might as well go try and go play football. Man, I'll never forget this. My first day of practice, I went out there. I didn't know what was going on. I just felt completely embarrassed because I was with a bunch of kids who have been playing, you know, youth football since they were 6 years old. So they already know how to play. I went home that day. You know, I told my mom I didn't want to play anymore. I didn't want to be out there because, you know, especially in 7th grade, you know, kids are mean at that time. So, you know, I had people telling me, like, you suck, why are you even out here, and, you know, making fun of me and stuff. So I went home and told my mom, you know, I didn't want to play anymore. And my mom was really, she was really strong on this me losing weight thing because she just wanted me to lose weight because she just think I was getting too big. So it's not even like she just wanted me to play, but she wanted me to lose weight. So she made me go again the next day. And I went up there the next day, we did some different drills, and I was watching, and I started seeing what people were doing, and I started and you know, when we did drills, I felt like, you know, I'm athletic enough to do this if they tell me what to do. Because I felt really confident in my ability to move and do all that. So I was like, you know, if I know what to do, I could be pretty good at this. And, you know, from that day on, I decided, you know, I'm gonna learn football, I'm gonna learn the rules, I'm gonna know what positions do what, I'm gonna learn everything. Because, you know, I've always felt that I had the ability to do it. I just needed to know what it's like, how you do it. I left junior high with kind of a chip on my shoulder because, like I said, I wanted to prove to the other kids that I knew I could play. Like I knew I could be, if not better than, it's just as good, I could be better than them. And it was something that I carried it on in high school because, you know, people around me, a lot of my friends, they still didn't believe that I was good. You know, I could talk all I wanted, but they still thought, you know, I was still the same old Keba because they know me as the kid who came in and didn't know how to play football. I did pretty good my freshman year. When I came in, we only had A and B team. When I came in, they just put me automatically on B team. That's why I started, like, without even seeing me practice or anything. So that was just more motivation for me as I kept getting older. By the time I did pretty good my freshman year, I ended up getting moved up to A team like the last half of the season pretty much, and I did pretty good. And then the next year we had a new coach and came in with a new coaching staff. And, you know, after that year, that was the year that I felt like it's something for me to really show people because these aren't the same coaches that were here last year. And when these new coaches came in, I saw it as a fresh start. I saw it as a way to show people who were going to give everybody the same opportunity to show them that, you know, I'm supposed to be that guy that's playing. I'm supposed to be that guy, you know, that's up there with the best people in the high school because I knew I was one of the best, but or in my high school. So when they came in, they gave everybody a fair shot. I was going against the other sophomores at the time in spring ball. I was still a freshman at this time, but they moved me to go practice with the varsity. This is before my sophomore year, and I started doing really good that time too. And then my sophomore year, you know, I played on varsity, and that was like one of my first accomplishments. That was one of the first times where, you know, I could actually show people, like, finally people were seeing that, you know, I can play because I've always known I could. And that's how it started ever since then, ever since my first game on varsity as my sophomore. And ever since then, you know, I've just been getting better and better every year all the way up until my senior year. And, you know, now I'm here. My recruiting trip, I remember I was still in high school. I still remember when Coach Wyatt told me that he was coming to Kansas and that they wanted me to come visit. At the time, I had a visit with Baylor that week before I came here, and in my head I kept thinking I was gonna go to Baylor because it's in Texas and it's right there, and at the time I really liked it and everything, and I went on my visit, and I liked it over there. But then the next week, Coach Wright was like, we want you to come over here, just to visit. And the first thing that came to my mind, being from Texas, I'm like, Kansas. I was talking to my parents, I'm like, Mom, I don't know if I want to go to Kansas. Like, I feel like I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna get off the plane, and I'm gonna drive to this area, and it's gonna be like a football field with a bunch of barns and farms around it. And I'm like, I'm not trying to go over there to Kansas because, when we think of Kansas, we think of nothing. Like, we just thought there's nothing out here. And my mom was like, they're paying for it. It's a free flight, and you get to go check out a college. I came over here, me and my dad and my brother, we came on my visit. And I still remember the first day I came in here, it was kind of dark, and I remember driving from KC, the airport, all the way to Lawrence, and I'm just looking outside like, I'm already mad. I'm like, man, I knew there was nothing out here. I'm just looking outside, we're driving through nothing, like on our way into Lawrence. And one of the first things I saw was a river. I looked out at night, it looked kind of cool. I was like, oh, they got a little river over here, and kind of in Lawrence by campus. That's kind of tight. But that's the only thing I really saw. Everything else I didn't really like. I was like, man, I'm ready to get out of here. But then the next day, we went out and looked at campus, and it was sunny outside. It was nice, and we went through everything. We went and saw every part of campus that I didn't see before the day before, and it was like my mind was blown. The next day, right before I went home, I already knew I wanted to come here. Before I even said anything, I already knew I wanted to come here just based off of what I saw on my visit. But I said I was gonna go home and talk to my parents, but I had a pretty good feeling I was still gonna come here. My dad wanted me to come here. Like, he really liked it because he came with me. My brother's like, you should go there too. And last person I talked to was my mom, and my mom told me, you just do whatever you want. Either way, I'm gonna be happy. So I was like, man, I'm going to KU, and I called Coach White that same day I got back, and I told him, I'm gonna be a Jayhawk. I want people to take two things from my story. One is that this might sound cliche or whatever, but like, don't ever let anybody tell you can't do something. Like, never. Don't ever let nobody tell you can't do anything, because, first of all, I'm living proof of that. If you were to go back to when I was a freshman in high school, and you said Key was going to be one of the guys to get a D1 scholarship here, or Key was going to go play in the Big 12, people would have laughed at you. That would have been a joke. And the second thing that I want people to get out of this is a lot of times, it's not to fault anybody, but we seem to look at people and just think that we got them all figured out. A lot of people nowadays, we see somebody and just think that we know everything about them. Just like me, like, people don't know I speak 5 languages. A lot of people don't know I lived in Africa for, a part of my life before I came here. A lot of people would never know that English isn't my first language, just by looking at me or just by hanging out with me, really, because people would never know something like that. And aside from really like a few of my close friends and my family, like, this is the first time that, y'all would be like the third group of people that I've ever told that I speak all these languages or where I came from and stuff. So it's just something that, I take very seriously. I just like to, before I make my judgment on somebody, I always want to know what they're like first and get to know them. And that's always something like I said, it might sound cliche, but when you get older, you start thinking about things differently, and that's one of the things that you really have to think about.